Today, I want to discuss why I've been developing my game Stop the Slimes using C++ and not one of the big game engines. You see, about 3 years ago, I went from being a mobile app developer using Unity to now teaching game development at my local college. While many of my classes would be using game engines, there would also be some that wouldn't, like computer graphics and fundamentals of game programming. For those, I would be teaching some lower level concepts using C++, OpenGL. I felt I needed to gain a better understanding of those concepts to teach those classes. I also thought it might help me answer questions in the classes that did use game engines. With that context, I'm going to go ahead and answer a question that I've been getting a lot recently. And that is, why did I change Stop the Slime from using Godot when I really enjoy it? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I don't have time for two side projects. I want to develop Stop the Slimes, but I also want to learn more about engine development. So I thought the best way of doing it is to build Stop the Slimes with that engine. Next up has got to be control. You see, I'm not writing this engine for 1,000 different developers or 5 different games. I'm writing it for Stop the Slimes. Now, if I end up using it in the future, similarly to how I've used it in some game jams in the past, well, awesome. But the requirements and the needs of my current project, that's what's directing the engine and how I interface with it. Now, another way you could take the point of control is there's no company I'm making a deal with. And as we've seen over the last several years, well, I'll paraphrase Darth Vader. I pray they don't alter it further. If you spent any amount of time on game dev YouTube, I'm sure you've seen videos saying, use this engine for 2D, use that engine for tons of units, use this one for great graphics. But whatever you do, don't write your own engine. You're just reinventing the wheel. And, well, there's some merit to that. There's a lot of time that's taken up developing the engine that could have been spent on the game. And, while sometimes you have to write an engine, a lot of times you could just use one off the shelf. And there's ones with great communities, open source like Godot. But since I'm doing this as a hobby, since I'm doing this for education, since I'm doing this for all the reasons I'm listing out here, when I hear those videos, I kind of take it as a challenge. Next would have to be the understanding that I have over my own engine. While there are open source engines like Godot or source available engines like Unreal, I wrote my engine, and the code I didn't write, I made decisions about the libraries that I would be using, which ones I liked. So I understand what's happening in my engine, more importantly, when it's happening, and what data is it modifying. And when I forget, all I have to do is right click on a function or a class name, and it will take me there. Then I just read it. This workflow has been extremely powerful. There's no guessing about what's in the black box of Unity. Lastly, well, it's just been fun learning about all this stuff. Now, if the video clips of Stop the Slime have been interesting to you, please wishlist it on Steam, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.